already start. So we are now live, ladies and gentlemen, for our console tier 1 race. I'm sure it's going to be on the stream post, so we'll keep it in. But we will watch these drivers as they head through the first part of the lap. We'll watch on and off board. We'll switch between the views of Quantum, and we'll see what the Audi is able to do on his first lap. He, Finley, and I believe it was Zazito were out on their laps straight away. They were able to get themselves going and on their flying laps right now. And Quantum flying into the turn number 4. That sees him invalid, so he's not going to be setting a time. Swapping over to Finley, he's going to be heading through towards that final sector.
Yeah, he's coming through turn 6 and 7 now, the double left-hander. You've got to lift through turn 7 as he does hit the inside corner, and he break in and then enabling straight mode down into turn 9 and turn 10, the two fastest corners on the track. And he's in 6th gear. He goes just wide, just about keeps it on track. But around the final corner now, overtake again and straight mode enabled. He does do our benchmark, which is 104.637, which isn't half bad for a banker.
It's not bad, and it's going to be the quickest banker of the drivers who've set their laps so far. Never mind, Justin's gone up there, and he's gone faster than Finley, 4.5. Otzazito gone 200ths off of the back of the V-carb, and is going to put himself in 3rd. What can Fannis Benoda do up to the line? He will be slowest of all, 6th place for himself so far. Chris RBL in the Cadillac. He will be, I believe, the first Cadillac to set a time on the board, although Robin will be heading through. I think he's just started his lap in the 2nd Cadillac, so we'll keep on with Chris as Sergioli is going to go within, exactly actually, 600ths off of the back of Justin at the very top of the field. Where can Chris go as he heads through the final few corners? Just throws himself into the final one, and he will invalidate his lap. It would have been a 104.7, which would have put him slightly further down in the order. So he would have been, he won't have minded the fact that he's invalidated. Lifebout, 104.433. That's a statement of intent.
That is a very good lap from Lifebout. He's gone just under a 10th clear of Justin, and then obviously Sergio into P3. 3 very strong laps to start the session off, but there are still a couple of drivers that are yet to set a valid lap. Samuel Barker and Chris obviously invalidated, and Ward is also invalidated, so neither of them are going to get anything to come within. Obviously, still Semi and Quantum set laps, and speaking of Semi, he's actually just started a lap as he goes around turn 1, which is one of the most difficult corners on the track. He's got straight mode enabled now, up towards turn 3, which is, once again, like I mentioned before, a very heavy braking zone. He's done a 16.3 sector 1, not terrible, around turn 3, and he seems to have lifted off to abort the lap.
Yeah, Semi's aborted that lap, interestingly enough. Chris RBL not able to set his lap. Samuel Barker was on a 104.6, which would have put him, I believe, he was on for a 104.60, which would have put him in 4th place for this session, just behind Sergioli and on the 2nd row of the grid. So not a bad lap time, but of course he wasn't able to get it valid. Haven't quite worked out yet, by the way, how to get to the last 2 drivers without just going to 20th and dropping down. So I think that's just going to have to be the way that I do it until I can work that one out. But Ward's now heading through the final sector, seeing what the Mercedes is going to be able to do in the 97. And yeah, he's got a couple more corners to go. Might get held up a bit by this Alpine. Are they going to dive into the pit lane? I think they are. Yep, they're out of the way of Ward. So now it's going to be a clean run to the line for the Lebanese driver, and he will get a 105.331, the slowest of all the competitive lap times. As Semi, who backed out, is going to go again.
Yeah, if he's going again, also Quantum is on a lap. We'll stay with Semi for now, as he's going to have a bit of a slipstream from the back of Ward, actually, which could come into his favour, and it's going to do absolutely nothing, it seems, because he's been impeded and has got damaged. So we're going to cut now to Quantum as he comes around the final 2 corners, into the final corner now. It doesn't look terrible. He's up to line. He's going to enable straight mode. What's the Xbox driver going to do? He goes to P3. That is a very solid lap from the Brit as he slots in 200th behind FRT Justin, and then a further 10th behind Lifebout. That is not bad, considering he hadn't done a lap yet.
Yeah, not half bad indeed at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of drivers going for more than 1 laps in terms of their runs. It's just interesting to see what can Volakongan do. Is he pushing on this lap? No, he's not. He's 6 seconds down. so he will not be pushing on this one. What can Semi do? Nothing in terms of his lap, as more drivers are out of the pit in to start their second runs. It's been a good first lap for Justin. He's managed to get himself. He was on pole of a Lifeboat with a sensational lap, managed to go ahead of him. He might be saving some softs for the race session. We won't be having a restart regardless of what happens in this social race unless somebody begs it. So Lifeboat, I think, is going to be in a decent place for that final stint, which means that he's going to be able to save those tyres. Justin then heading through the first corner, and the Ferrari hoping to find a 10th to catch up to the Hassan in front.
It would be very crucial around here, but qualifying could go anyone's way. Justin is half 10th up after Sector 1, which is very good, considering he's on pad, and pad is not very good this game in general, but for him, it seems to be suiting himself well. Down at turn 4 now. He's going to be braking up. He's going to be lifting and then braking at about 70-ish meters in third gear. He's going to be burning the battery a little bit before going into the famous double left of turn 6 and now 7. And he has actually lost about 3/4 of a tenth there as he comes into the final section now. He's going to enable the straight mode down into turn 9 and 10. So what could this do to him? And he's going to slightly miss the apex and then lift into the final corner, and he's invalidated on the inside. That is really not what he wanted, considering how good his first sector was, and overall he didn't even improve, so not much more he could have done there, really, but that mistake in sector 2 has cost him a little bit.
Yeah, certainly has. He'll be hoping not to repeat it on his final run, which of course will be coming up in a few minutes' time. Looking at more drivers coming through on their laps, Finlay has improved by a 10th. Somehow is not invalid in that penultimate corner and is going to go the fastest. He has got a 104.324 for the V-carb, and that is going to be a strong lap time that puts him up at the top of the field. Ray Wint's not going to improve. Snack is going to fly through the final couple of corners and see what he can do on his lap time. But Melwin will be the first one to the line, but he will not be improving on any lap times indeed. Snack then will swap back to him as he's found a 1/4 of a second in the first 2 sectors and will be up to the front row. It's a V-carb 1-2.
That's a very good lap from Snack indeed. As you mentioned before, there's still plenty of people on laps. You got a lot of people in sector 1, and was that Radadal that just went up to 5th place? Yes, it was. And Dawid has gone up to 7th, so that's 2 very good laps from 2 very fast people. But there's laps all around the board. You've got Simrox 1 who's coming through turn 3. I believe you said Melwin is not pushing at the moment, but he seems to be pushing very hard right now as he's coming through to the double left of turn 6 and 7. And Robin Brain set the lap. He goes into P16. Not great, but Melwin has found another 10th and a half, which is very solid. There are people coming near the end of the lap now. You've got the Mercedes of Mattis starting a lap, and then you've got a Red Bull and a V-car, but that's not big watch right now. With Melwin around the final corner, he's going to enable straight mode line. He's going to go into P14, so he's not had a great final sector there, really. But there are plenty of people finishing laps now. You've got Ray Wins and Lifeboat going up to 2nd and 3rd. That's two very strong times. But it's not going to affect Finlay at the moment. But he only stayed ahead by 4,000 of Finlay, so it's really not safe there at the top, is he?
No, he certainly isn't. 0.004 of a second and only 300ths ahead of Ray Wintz as well. So it's very, very tight at the very top of the field. Ryderdal's not going to improve on his lap. Sergioli isn't either. So all of the drivers coming in on their in-laps. Matis Huile is going to be improving by 0.5 tenth in the first sector. In the second, it's going to be a 10th and some change. So the Mercedes is going to try and jump up into the top few if he can hook up this final sector correctly. He's done so far. That puts him with a lap time that's provisionally going to put him in 5th place. But of course, he has to hook that final sector up. And this is where you could lose a lot of time through the medium speed corners. And up to the line, Matis Huile is going to come, and it will be 5th for the Mercedes, as he was just able to keep it consistent throughout that last sector, which is exactly what he needed. Are we going to be getting an improvement of a lap time from anybody else? I think Thomas was improving, but I think he's just backed out of that lap. He may well have felt hard done by because of being a little bit held up, and I think a few drivers are feeling similar. Ottosito chasing in there. Quantum is improving. He's found exactly a 10th within the first 2 sectors and now heads through the final couple of corners to see where he can put his Audi. He's got a car right in ahead, but I think they're just going to dive into the pit lane. No, they're not. They're actually not that close ahead. Not as close as I thought, at least. Quantum to the line. Is it going to be quickest? Not quite. It's going to be 6th for the Audi. It's going to be the 3rd row of the grid.
Yeah, a very good lap that from Quantum yet again, so he's going to be one to keep an eye out considering he's very consistent, but there are still plenty of people on lap. You got Simbarock's one that's about to start a lap, Vol's going to be starting a lap, and Melwin's currently on one. He's currently up by a tenth and a quarter after Sector 1, as once again he's coming through the double left-hander in fourth gear, burning a little bit of the battery, and he's found another little bit of time in the middle sector, so Melwin could be finally getting a more respectable lap. As he comes into turn 9, he's going to lift in 8th gear. Going to slightly miss the apex, however, and into the final corner. Is he going to have the battery to the line? Or will it matter? It won't matter in the end. Had he just edged over the white lines and he had invalidated his his lap yet again. So, next to keep an eye on will be VNT Thomas as he comes into the final corner now. And he will invalidate as well. He would have gone to pole position. So that's unlucky for him. Volakongan as well is currently on a lap. There are plenty all around the field. You've got Dawid, who's up by a tenth and a half after Sector 1. That is a monster Sector 1. There are still people going around. And Justin, I believe, is starting a lap now as well. He is. So everyone is on laps right now. But who will be the most consistent coming to the end? It could genuinely be anyone at the moment.
It certainly could be anybody at the moment in terms of improving and jumping up to the top of the field. It's unpredictable in the final part of this session, and we'll see where everybody is going to stack up. Otsuzito through the second sector, then he may well get a Ferrari right ahead of him. Nope, that Ferrari's moved out of the way nice and cleanly, but I think he's just on an in-lap, so he's going to be on an alternative a point of the session to everybody else, I think, where everyone else is kind of starting their next push laps or in the pit lane, although that will be David up to the top of the field, a 104.321 for the Audi, a very, very fitting time, and a very, very pleasing, aesthetically pleasing time indeed, that puts him 3 thousandths of a second ahead of Finley, that puts him 7 thousandths ahead of Lifebout. The end of this qualifying session is going to be so tight.
It will be indeed. And Justin has also just finished the lap. He improved marginally behind the back of Snack, who's just starting a lap as well. He obviously did that 4.4 on his previous lap, but he's going to have a go for a little bit of traffic through the end of Sector 1, start Sector 2. But it doesn't seem to be bothering him that much. He comes around turn 3 and is burning the battery and has got the overtake mode on, so he is looking very strong right now. Into turn 4, he comes braking late again after lifting a slight bit, and he's going to be burning once again the battery down into the double left-hander before having yet another lift. Is the German driver, and he has found he'd actually lost a little bit of time. So if he wants to contend for that top spot by the end of qualifying, he has to put in a bit of a shift for his next couple laps, otherwise he will be capped out at that P5, I feel like. But won't matter now, they actually peeled into the pit lane. So he is going to back out. Samuel Barker has just gone into P9 with a very good lap. But there are still plenty of people going around. I believe Robin Brain is invalidated. So really, everyone has peeled into pit lane to put on a fresh set of tyres.
Yeah, for one more lap in this stint, I think they will go for. And we will see these drivers just coming to the next part of their stints. I think Ryderdal might be actually pushing here. I'm not quite sure what the Haas driver is doing, but he's going out for another lap with 2 minutes left in the session, so maybe he's just warmed himself up. Those tyres aren't going to wear as much as they did on the previous game's titles, so potentially he's just worn down that fuel tank as much as he can. The end of the first sector, and he is going to be pushing 400ths of a second up on his previous time, but he finds himself just outside of the top 10, so there's going to be a lot of improvement to make for the Haas driver. Heading down then the hill towards the next big braking zone, the first real overtaking opportunity. This McLaren is going to get in the way, and that is not what Ryderdal would have wanted at all. And I think he's going to back out. Indeed, he is.
He had backed out on the exit at turn 3, but it doesn't seem like it bothered him too much. He could have just been catching the traffic far too fast, and I don't think he wanted to really hamper with that. He does have plenty of fuel to go for one more warm-up lap before going for a final push lap, but it depends on what he does. He could go for a push lap now, but then have no chance at the end, or he's going to do one more lap to burn the last bit of fuel off to have as little as possible. But it seems like he might be going for it now. He is going for it now. He's starting his final lap at this very second, down into turn 1. He's going to get off the battery and the throttle very late. He's going to flick to turn 1 and he just about had work. But I think once again, he's backed off because he is not burning that battery at a very heavy extent right now. It seems he has backed out. He is down by 8 tenths and Robin Brain has retired in the pit lane for some reason. But Lifeboat had gone back up to P1. So there's a lap at the death for ETA Lifeboat, and he's now the new big threat. Finley is invalid, and Dawid has also just started his final lap. So, but does Lifeboat have the time to do one more lap, do you reckon? Or is he finished?
It's going to be very difficult indeed if he wants to, and I don't think he's going to be particularly pushing on towards it. There's about 40 seconds left in this session. He's got about 40 seconds of a lap left to go, so he's going to want to give it a go as more drivers coming to the end of their laps, and there's yellow flags in the third sector.
That will be people just starting laps. We will go with Samuel Barker to start his final lap. He's in a bit of traffic actually, so we'll try go to SCI Finley instead, as he's burning his battery on the very long back straight with that straight mode, and he's up by exactly a third of a tenth, and he flicks into second gear at the third corner, and he's very early on the throttle, and he's burning once again as we see a few more retirements come into play, as there is a stranded McLaren at turn 2, but it doesn't seem to matter at the moment because Finley is ahead of that. He is going around turn 4 now. He is burning a little bit more of the battery and then lifts off right before turn 6. And he's going to go very wide. He's actually scuffed it up here, but he still is up. But he's got a lot of understeer. And that is his lap over, unfortunately. Will instead cut to his teammate Snack, who is also down. So Samuel Barker is going to be next, I feel like. We've got a few more people crossing the line. But Barker now is the first of this train. And he is also off the track. But is he going to keep the lap? And he's still on the grass. He doesn't. He messes up anyway. So we've got a few more Simbrox. One is down. We'll go to the Haas of Radadal, who's also off track. So next up is the Mercedes of Mattis Huliet, who's also up by a little bit of time, but not by enough, I don't think. He does stay where he is. Volkong up by 2 tenths at the moment, though. So he will jump up to P14 only. And that seems to be it, if I feel. That is it. Everyone has finished their lap. It was a very, very fast-paced qualifying lap, wasn't it?
Certainly was indeed. Everybody throwing their laps in at the end, but Lifebout at the very top of this field with a 104.264. Ray Wintz in second place, but Ray Wintz, David and Finley split by basically nothing. Snack, Justin and Otsazito split by basically nothing. And, I mean, Rydal, Melwin and Volakongan, for example, split by absolutely nothing. This is going to be a great race.
Oh, it's going to be very great, because so many people are within that pace of each other. So you'll see overtakes or race like you did in PC yesterday. So really the big question is, who's going to get the most?
Well, we will certainly see as we will just round off our qualifying session. Hopefully we'll be able to get the chance to bring you the grid. They don't always decide to show it, but hopefully we'll get the chance. Yes, we will. Lifebout on that pole position with Ray Wintz alongside him on the front row. David in third and Finley in fourth. Second down to fourth, split by 0.06 of a second. Sergioli finds himself in fifth alongside Snack on the third row of the field, and Justin is going to be in seventh alongside Ottozito. Mattis, Guile and Samuel Barker will round out the top 10 with Quantum in 11th and Rydal in 12th. Melwin and Volakongan 13th and 14th to make it an all-Nordic 7th row of the field with Thomas Simbarox, Vanna Spinoda, Semi, Robin, Belby, Wards and Chris to round out the field.
It is a very close field, and obviously the P2 to P4 separated by only that 0.06 of a second, which is such a marginal gap. But on this game, you will be very surprised if you don't see that more often than not. And it was also a bit of a shock that Lifebot managed to pull away, because he was one that was definitely not on my bingo card to be so far ahead. So fair enough to him, that a very strong lap from the ETA driver, I believe he is.
Yeah, we certainly have. Certainly a great lap indeed, and we've seen a lot of the drivers just... I mean, this is going to be a game that defines, I think, a lot of drivers' careers. We've seen a lot of a lot of people come up over the last couple of seasons. Think Silo, for example, now over on the PC side as Zach Styler, but he certainly made his name on last year's game. I think there's plenty of drivers who have the same fate, and I think plenty of drivers who will be able to have the same fate this time around. We are just waiting to get ourselves going and to get the green flag waving for the second console social race of the season, for the second social race this week, and Lifebat will be at the front of the field. He'll be alongside Ray Wintz, who's another driver I wouldn't have been expecting to see at the top of the field. David and Philly, the second row of it. And, well, Philly, I think I expected him to be able to have a good year, and this is certainly a good start to it for himself. So I think he's going to do bits from the second row of this grid. Strategies have not been defined as early as this in the season, as a lot of the drivers wait for the social races to get the opportunity to practice their racecraft and practice their racing in general, and we will get down to it very shortly indeed. I think the drivers are just about getting going. They're getting final preparations underway, just having a look at their presets, seeing if there's anything they can tweak before they go to lights out. Strategy today will be most likely swap between the hards and the mediums, but with the likes of Lifebout saving a set of tyres, of course, with that lap that he set earlier on, we never quite know what could happen, and especially this early in the season, they could be experimenting as well, as I think a lot of the drivers will be seeing with the lower tyre wear, whether they can make the softs a viable strategy. But yeah, the fans in the crowd getting very raucous as they await our first race of the season around Austria, and we are ready to get it underway now. It's Lifebout on the front row, and he will be starting from pole as the drivers are ready and the action gets underway now. It will be Lifebout who leads away, and Ray Wintz doesn't get a great start. He's going to be side by side with David and Philly into the first corner. Philly to the inside. There's going to be a lot of ghosting, but in the meantime, Lifebout with a great launch, and he's going to be massively ahead of anybody else. David is going to take advantage of that second place, of that poor start from Ray Wintz, who's going to come back to the inside of turn number 3. The braking zone sees a lot of drivers 2x2. They will be the lead ones. Can Ray sneak ahead? He looks like he's going to be able to with the straight line speed. Sergioli waiting in the background for a mistake. A huge send from Ray to try to get ahead. Is he going to be able to squeeze himself just ahead of the Audi? Yes, he has. He squeaked himself into P2, and Sergioli going for P3 is a little bit wide in the background. I think that was Otzozito having a little bit of a scrap, and in the background as well, that's Ryderdal off.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of carnage on that opening lap. You saw loads of contact at turn 3, and then there was a bit of a pile-up through turn 6. So, really, that is the start you'd expect, but Lifebout did exactly what he had to do. He held it as all the carnage broke loose behind him, and he pulled a little bit of a gap. Ray Wintz as well, he's done a very good job to hold on to it, considering a lost P2 as there was Simbarox 1 flying off the track in the background. But Ray just needs to try and hold his composure and try and get back within the a closer gap to Lifebout, or otherwise he's going to be under a load of threat from cars behind, such as Sergio and especially Justin, as we got a send from Finley into turn 3, and he just holds behind. And they are now side by side with Snack down to turn 4, who is going to have a bit more of the slipstream than Finley, and he's going to pull ahead into the corner. And we've got Dawid, who lost loads of places, barging himself past Finley. Or does he? No, he doesn't. He pulled behind, so it's still loads of drama going on. And there is plenty of battling all around the field. And what it is bringing is the drama that you'd love to see. And Dawid was off track, which allows Otzozito back through. So really, this has been a questionable start for Dawid in the Audi.
It certainly has. It's not been the greatest of starts. He's all the way down to 8th place now as there's more fighting further back. Van Espinoda and Ryderdal. And that is very wide from Matisse Huillet in the background. So maybe a little bit of collateral damage from that fight. But now Van Espinoda trying to fight with Chris RBL tries to stay ahead. Everybody still within that 1 second range of each other as they head up the hill for what will be the third time in the two Audis going side by side. Quantum trying to make an attack on his teammate. He'll try to get the exit, but I think David with the outside line will just about have that momentum to stay ahead. And indeed he will. And Melwin, in fact, is going to get ahead on one. He might get 2 Audis in the space of one straight. He's to the inside line. In the meantime, David makes a mistake all by himself. He's going to spin around. That's going to be 1 Audi down and 1 Audi potentially out of the fight for the points. Melwin can't quite hang it around the outside. He stays in behind.
Exactly, it's great battling from the 3 card. Melwin especially trying to get past the pair of them into one corner. He's done very well to try to take it in, but at the same time he's also unfortunate to lose out to Quantum, but he can't do much more than that. Getting one's really nice, but getting them both is absolutely splendid for him. But he's going to hold on to P9, which isn't terrible considering where he qualified. Him and Volakongan have gained plenty of ground, and I believe Melwin is still trying to have a look into turn 1. He's going to stay behind, which is going to allow Samuel Barker to get very close as they scream down the straight. That Red Bull Ford engine behind is just about going to fall back a little bit though, which isn't the end of the world. He's going to give himself more time to do a bit of lifting, coasting to gain back the battery, which he does do very well. Up near the front of the field though, Sergio Lee is getting very close to Ray. That's going for the set on the inside into turn 3. They are going to be side by side on the exit, but Ray's just going to creak ahead. That is a good effort from Sergio Lee, but it's going to come to nothing. But he's going to go back for it on the inside of turn 6, and they're still side by side. But is Sergio Lee going to get it done this time? No, he's not. He's once again going to lose out by being on the inside line, which is going to allow Justin to get very close. This is very good racing between the 2 of them, but unfortunately, it's going to stay how it is as they get closer to turn 9 now, and now once again ever so closer. But this is very good racing, and fair play to the pair of them to not cause any more drama.
Yeah, fair play to them for not causing any more drama, as you say, and we cross over to what will be lap number 5 of this race as Sergio Lee pressures Ray Wintz at the moment. He's about 2/10 off of the back at the moment, and he's trying to close right in on the Aston Martin, but he's not going to be able to do so just yet as we get our first penalty of the day as Matisse Huillet with a 3-second added to his name for track limits. Position changes, and it will be Semi and Belbelby up the most. 6 for both of them, and 5 for Wards and Chris RBL, all of them further down the order, and I think that Justin, with those 3 positions gained, is going to have the more valuable ones for 4th place at the moment. Thomas just waiting in behind his teammate. I think there's going to be a fight between those 2 very, very soon. Lifebout has controlled the pace at the top of this field in the Haas, and he's looked, even though the gap's only about 6 tenths of a second, he's looked impenetrable.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, there's been a split in the trade between Quantum and Melwin, because Melwin has actually got a bit of damage. He's missing his front right end plate, so that's an absolute killer for any left-handers. And unfortunately for him, the two of the fastest corners on the tracks are left-handers, so he's really lost out there, hasn't he? Because he's going to be struggling for a large amount of the race now, isn't he?
Certainly is, because of course we've still got 30 laps to go. Belbelby is going to make his way through on David, and Otsazito is going to make his way through on Finley as well. To the inside line he goes with turn number 3. Is he going to be able to make the move? He's going to try to get the exit on the corner. Finley is going to just not quite have the overspeed as the straight mode opens up. And so Finley just waits in behind Otsazito as maybe further forward. Justin's made 3 moves. He's looking for a 4th as Sergioli has to have to defend, if I can speak, to the inside line of turn number 4, but he does so successfully and he stays ahead. And now Sergioli 3 tenths off of the back of Ray Wintz for 2nd place. Ray still about 7 tenths off of the back of our race leader, but I'd imagine that gap is only set to increase as the other Ferrari of Melwin is going to chase in behind Samuel Barker, going to try to set up a move on the Red Bull, but he can't quite do so just yet.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately for them, though, Volakonga, the moment he got past Melwin, he was able to get back into that 1 second window, so the train all the way down to P17 is just one long snail, which looks like it won't be broken anytime soon. They actually set the fastest lap, and once again, Melwin has lost another place, this time to Semi. That front wing is really killing him now, isn't it? So he's just going to continue to plummet down the track, and he's actually going to try and go for it onto the inside. He's going to pull behind still, and he's going to go for the outside. Never mind, he's off the track, and fortunately makes a mistake. That could just be desync from my end, though. Apologies if it is. Quantum is going to have a little sniff for Finley. He's going to stay behind, but at the moment, the battling seems to have settled down just a tad bit.
Just a little bit as they start to manage themselves. This is earlier on in the race than we've seen over the previous social races. We see a lot of them fighting very early on in the race. They wait till about 3/4 of the way through the race to settle down, but they've settled down a lot earlier into this one. We're only about 1/4 of the way in, so maybe it's just the nature of the track that they've decided to sit back because there is limited overtaking opportunities. Only 10 corners, as you say, and quite a few of them are going to be flat out, or at least medium speed, and impossible to make an overtake. Something's happened to Melwyn. He's come into the pits. That's what's happened to him, and he's making the switch off of the mediums earlier. Oh no, he's retiring. Never mind. As he comes in, and that'll be the end of his race. For some reason or another, Justin, under pressure from Snack, he's going to try to take that pressure and work it on the back of Sergioli, who sends it to Ray Wintz. So that's going to be a domino effect, a butterfly effect, in fact, as the McLaren tries to pull alongside Ray Wintz. Can't quite do so. The gap is now up to 9/10 of a second as the Aston Martin tries to defend, and Sergioli just, he was caught unawares, as was Snack to the inside of Justin. He didn't quite realise the Ferrari was going to send it when he did, and the V-Carb has to just sit in behind. But that'll be frustrating for both him and the McLaren.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. However, for Snack and just Negan absolutely loving life, and that's yet another place for Justin in this race. So he is now into the podium places for the first time in this race, and he does a very early Lyco. He obviously wants to prepare a little bit, but Lifeboat is still seemed to control the pace so far in front of everyone else. So he is going to be great, and Thomas is unfortunately in Belby is also peeled into pit lane. That's also quite early. He gets in a more reasonable pace, sorry, and so is Robin. So them two seem to be must out on the hard actually, considering they boxed so early. And Matisse doesn't have a wing.
Well, that is certainly interesting. Wish I could switch over to driver number 21. Oh no, he literally doesn't have a wing. I thought you meant like he'd lost his front wing. No, there is an entire part of that Mercedes that's off. So previously, in previous years, we've seen that part off, and we've seen the front wing. Oh, I don't like that. That makes me feel very uncomfortable. We've seen in previous years, like the nose cone come off, and also the wings. But now we can only see the nose cone off. So I've never seen that before, but I'd imagine that car's particularly fine at the moment. He's got Robin right behind him. We had a bit of desync as a couple of drivers are dropped down the order. Sergioli is going to be one of those drivers who's dropped down the order, and he's under pressure from David. Two drivers who had a great start to the race, haven't quite been able to capitalise on it.
Unfortunately, no, I unfortunately didn't see what happened to Sergioli, so if you could... Oh, he's disconnected! That's what's happened. He is lagged out of the race after being in such a high position all race. And Volakonga and Finley seem to be battling, which could involve Samuel Barker very soon. As we are going to go on board with Samuel Barker, he is sandwiched in at the moment. He is in an SCI sandwich onto the inside of turn 3. This is going to be so close for anything bad to happen. But I think he's just about hold on to that P8 position. It sort of seemed like he will. But he is now going to be pressuring Volakonga to the inside of turn 4. They're in contact as they enter it, and Volakonga's going to squeeze him as much as possible, with it being legal. And he's just about going to hold on to Samuel does seem to have a little bit of a wobble, and Finley has lost a couple of positions. He's back down to P10, which is unfortunate. And he's also disconnected. That's two people lagged out of session now, which is questionable, to be honest, isn't it?
A little bit. We've seen it in the past. We saw it with the other social race on PC, where everybody disconnected from the session all at once. This was in qualifying, as actually one of the AIs is trying to go for a move. Finley had a look at Chris and didn't quite decide to go for it in the end, although of course this is not Finley. This is Finley, who is a robot. For some reason, David's let him back through. Not quite sure what's going on there. Either way, the Audi's going to wait him behind. He's going to overtake the bot. Hopefully that gives him the ego boost that he was so desiring. Samuel Barker on the back of Volakonga, maybe having a look to the inside. This would be audacious if he tries it. He tries it. He's to the inside. The V-Carb, no, the Red Bull even, is going to be alongside the Aston Martin, and he's going to open up the corner on the exit. Don't forget Semi in the background as well. He might try to make a move, and he does on the inside of Volakonga. And as soon as the move was made for Barker, Semi took advantage, and he made his way through.
Exactly, Aaron Ward also behind with the overtaker. Semi's gone for yet another one on the inside of turn 4, and he's made it stick, and Dawid has spun. In some way, shape or form. He is off the track at turn 4. So much for that ego boost, as you mentioned before. But that is his race finish. The Simbrox one is starting to go through the AI cars. As next in front of him is Chris Rebel. And Simbrox has slowed for some reason. I believe he's trying to get the overtake mode, which has failed. But Now there is a bit more of a gap starting to spread between the field as Snacker's gap onto Zito. So he's under a little bit of threat behind, but now the main look is the top 4, and Dawid has pulled into pit lane to retire, so that's unfortunate for them. However, the race must go on without him, it seems, and our big watch now is just the rest of the field, and Quantum in particular seems to be getting a little closer to Odzio, but he's not going to go for any move. And he is just going to hold where he is, and now we might finally settle down a little bit. And never mind, Rydal picked up a penalty.
Yes, Rydal, a 3-second time penalty, adding to Thomas and Matisse's penalties as Quantum gets very close to Otzito. These two have been fighting quite a lot throughout the first third of this race, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. What we've seen from some of the social races earlier on is, while some drivers have settled into the race, some drivers have never really had the opportunity to settle. All they've had to do is fight and fight and fight. We might have another opportunity on our hands here for Otzito and Quantum to fight. Now it's all down to whether the Audi is going to get a good exit off the corner. Indeed he does, but he's not going to be able to get the run into the first corner enough, because you have to get a good enough run to get ahead. He will open up that straight mode on the exit. He'll open up the corner as well, and he'll try to pull alongside. In fact, he doesn't open up the straight mode, as he just tries to pull alongside anyway, as he uses the slipstream to get ahead of the Williams, potentially, but they will still be locked in side by side as they head out of turn number 3. Otzito clings on to the place for now.
He does indeed. It looked like Quantum didn't want the place, so I'm not too sure why he stayed behind, but he definitely had the run on him to definitely make the place, and he decided to stay behind by not using the straight mode, and I believe not using the overtake either, so either it could just be a graphic our onboard glitch, or he just generally decided not to.
Yes, it's very odd indeed, but the driver's trying to work out what the right strategy is. You can understand why they're making odd moves. Finley's back in the session. Sergioli is not, so we will still watch that McLaren dropping down the order as Tomas is into the pit lane, and he'll be making the switch off those mediums after 13 laps. He'll be making the undercut on all the other medium runners, and I think it's going to be a good sign of things to come, especially for those hard runners. I'd imagine the pit window will open on lap number 23 for them. Volokongan and Samuel Barker swapping positions, and I think that's going to involve, Semi as well. Bit of a twitch from Samuel Barker of lag, so hopefully that's not going to be a sign of things to come for the driver of the Red Bull at the moment, but he stays waiting in the wings behind Semi and Volokongan.
He does indeed. Unfortunately for them 3, I believe Semi is on the softs. I will check quickly in a moment. Just give us...
Semi's on the mediums.
Semi's on the mediums? Okay, no worries. It just looks like soft on my end. It is the mediums. But they've got to keep an eye on Ward behind, who is currently on the hard tyre, as well as Chris Rebel. So those 3 could be under a lot of pressure on the now fresher hard tyres. So them lot aren't the safest right now, are they?
No, they're certainly not the safest, as you say right now, and they will be under pressure very, very soon. I think they're going to want to manage those tyres. They're not going to want to make too many overtakes, but you know what it feels like when you're on a circuit like this, when you're racing people like this. It's very, very difficult to maintain your temperament. So I think we will be seeing some moves, including that one for second place. Justin's made his way through on Ray, and there is going to be a move further back. Semi is going to make his way through on Otzito, although he's going to lose the rear, and down goes Semi. He had his opportunity. He fluffed his lines.
Unfortunately, I think he made contact with them, and then a bit of argy-bargy with Volokongan and Quantum, as Vola seems to have lost his head a little bit. And here comes Samuel Barker on the inside into turn 6, just stays behind. And he does, and Snack is now up in second place. What happened? Ray wins it, and Justin have managed to take each other out. So something's happened there, and Justin is missing part of his wing. So we've got Odzito entering the podium race for the first time. It's all carnage into turn 10. 9 and 10, sorry, and 3 people on this building and 1. The Aston Martin, it's all going wrong here. And Ray Wins has sped, unfortunately. And Justin has called it a day, I believe, after his wing broke. We'll see what Semi does in a minute. I believe Semi's going to carry on. But that was pure carnage we just witnessed. And somehow only one person is out.
Honestly, I think that's a thoroughly deserved penalty for Ray Wins. Did you see what he did into the pit lane? Because we certainly saw it on the broadcast.
I did not, unfortunately.
So he's He is on the outside line as he sees a couple of drivers come in. He makes a last-minute decision to come in, which just means swerving across all of the traffic coming into the pit lane. And yeah, I'm shocked that everyone survived that, to be perfectly honest with you. But Ray Wintz, with a 10-second time penalty, I think that's going to be the least that the stewards could have done to punish him for that one, because that was mad. Inside line front, so Zito on Thomas as he tries to make his way through with these brand new tyres. Thomas's tyres are 2 laps old, so they're going to be a little bit more rubbered in, and so he's able to fight back with the grip on the inside. Our leader, Lifebout, dives in, and he's going to be, hopefully, not coming out in too bad of a pack, because he's managed this race so well. He deserves to come out in a clear air, but I don't know whether the Haas is going to be able to do that. We will watch him as he comes down into the box now, and the next driver to cross the line will be Belby. So I think it's the undercut that's the most important part here, and I think it's going to benefit all of these drivers who came in on the previous lap, which means it's going to be the undoing at the moment of our race leader for the entire time. Lifebout's going to come out in 6th, so in fact he's come out in a perfect window.
Perfect window, you could say, but he's also 2.5 seconds behind our new net race leader in theory. Because it is highly unlikely, in my opinion, that Priory Belby will make it to the end. So Lifebout is going to have to do a lot of battling. And speaking of battling, Finley is still out there on track on the old medium tyre. I believe he's just been overtaken by Ray Wintz, so he's just going to be a falling bomb now, as now Thomas is behind him. And he's going to pull the inside line into turn 6. He's going to try go for it. He's going to go for it indeed. And he's just absolutely flown past the Racing Bull's car. And now Ottavito's going to go to the inside now. And next up is Quantum. He's just going to slice to the outside line. So I believe it's time for Finley to finally call it a day and come into the pit lane. And so? I don't think he does. No, he doesn't. He stayed out. So he's doing one more lap, I reckon. And there are still 3 more people yet to pit. And they are currently the 3 in the front. You've got Ward, Volakongan, who's on the oldest medium tyres left, excluding Finley, and Chris Rebel, who are both on hard tyres, are Ward and Chris. And Snack moved himself now into the net race lead indefinitely, just the number 67 V-Carb. So everything is now looking all but favourable for him, isn't it?
Yeah, going to struggle, I think, at the end of this stint, just to try and stay ahead for those drivers at the top. Volakongan stretched this stint very, very long indeed. I think he was holding out for a safety car, which unfortunately doesn't seem like it's going to come. Unfortunately for the Aston Martin's sake, it doesn't look like it's going to come at the very least. Chris RBL is going to make his way past Volakongan, because Volakongan finally has decided to give up on this safety car dream and dive into the pit lane on lap 19 in this race. He's done over half of it on those mediums, showing what they're going to be capable of. However, we've seen throughout this race that the undercut is going to be the superior strategy, and so I think it's going to be shooting himself in the foot just a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is all just about research. This is all about what can you learn ahead of the season to come.
Exactly, because obviously it's the final race before season 24 is to begin, and we've got a yellow flag for some reason. I believe it's Robin Brain has spun on the exit of turn 1, so he's going to lose out a little bit. But it is something to keep an eye on. Simbarock's won, in my opinion. He has come from last, and think about it in the sports term. He's gone from nowhere to fighting for a potential top 10. He's going for a rags to riches right now, but unfortunately, he's got to make up that time, and he does have a little bit of a slide there. But ignore that. We're going to go for a little bit of a battle. Quantum screamed past Thomas and up to P8 into the corner of the double left, and now next on his bucket list, the Williams of Ottavito, who isn't carrying a 10-second penalty, but Ray Wintz is. So now into the final 2 corners, final corner now for Quantum. He's just going to stay a little bit behind. He's going to have burning a lot of the battery, which is unfortunate for him, automated. And Matisse Hilliard has picked up a penalty by entering the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. So that's one way to penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a particularly prevalent problem at Abu Dhabi, where drivers pick up penalties for just simply going into the pit lane. I believe it was Julian Klaffenbach who in WOR Tier 1 managed to pick up. It ended up being a ridiculous amount of penalty. I think it ended up being like 10 seconds worth of penalties that he picked up in the pit lane, which was a bit mad, but either way, but of course he was able to get them removed in the end, but it's still a worrying sign that that glitch has lingered. Semi and Volakongan still going at it. Volakongan with the much fresher tyres, so you'd imagine this is going to be a relatively simple move. Not that Semi is going to allow him the opportunity to make it a very simple move. He sent it back to the inside and stayed ahead for the time being. Volakongan doesn't want to burn those tyres out too much, because then he is throwing away the advantage that he's gained by diving into the pit lane later on, so he is just going to have to wait in behind. Ray Wintz, the latest driver, to pick up a penalty. He's got 3 seconds for track limits. He's not the only driver here today to do that. He won't be the first. He won't be the last either, as we head on to lap number 21. Finley finally decides to come into the pit lane, and he will be making that switch onto, you'd imagine, what would be a set of the... will it be a hard set of tyres at the end of this race? You'd imagine it would be, but that would completely negate the point of him stretching that stint so long.
Yeah, it was a little bit clueless coming near the end of it, considering there was literally no need for him to stay out for so long. But now, obviously Lifeboat led for so long before. He's back into near the back of the current net race leader, which is SCI Snack, and he's brought Bebelby with him. So now we have got what seems to be a unique situation on our hand. We've got the freshest tyres currently in net P2, and the older tyres in front of him, but it's obviously trying to hold the consistent gap. We got a yellow flag, and I believe it's Fana Spinode yet again. Has spun, and he's saving it, and he's sliding, and he's managed to hold it. But Quantum in P8, who's on got a very good chance of a podium, sees it like wear away. And now we're going to go to Sam Bark, who's currently in P10 with no penalties. Go to the inside. It could be one, it could be both. He goes to the inside of turn 3. It's going to be both of them. That is a splendid move from the Xbox driver. He's going to try and hold on. But no, he's going to be swamped by VNT Thomas. Down into turn 4. Is he going to hold on? He is. That is absolutely preposterous from the Red Bull driver himself. But now we need to make a bit of ground to Ottozito in front of him. Otherwise, he's just going to make that look like it was for absolutely nothing but the cameras.
Well, I mean, that's basically what these social races are. They're for the cameras, but also they're for the testing for the drivers. So that's exactly why we want to see these races. That's exactly the way we want to see these races go. Moves like that into the pit lane. Comes a couple more drives, and I think that's going to be the last few that we'll be seeing in this race, unless Ryderdale does decide to dive in again after his massive undercut. But I don't think he will be relenting in this race. I don't think there's any point in diving back into the pit lane when you've committed so hard to a strategy as he has. Side by side between Thomas and Samuel Barker, and Thomas will get through without much fuss, without any fuss, unless that Samuel Barker is able to fight it back on the outside line. No, he's not. He stays behind, and yeah, they're just going to continue chasing in formation. These three very close together indeed. That's Thomas, that's Samuel Barker, and that's Quantum, who has a look at Samuel Barker down the inside, and he's going to try to make the move, squeezing the Red Bull very, very wide, but he does make that move up in the end, which is the most important part, and it will be 6th place.
It was a very good dive bomb into the final, not into the final corner, apologies, turn to turn 4, which he has made stick very well, but put that aside, the top two are within 2 tenths of each other now. So for the first time, we are going to have a lead change on track, potentially, as there is the lap car of Sir Jolie, unfortunately, so far in front of him, but that will mean nothing, as these two are barreling to turn 1 now. We are going to go on board with Sir Lifeboat behind him, and we are going to go for a potential overtake to turn 3. It doesn't seem like we are. I think he's just going to quick behind Snack. He does, but never mind. Snack's gone very deep into turn 3, and he's had a wobble. Could this be enough for Lifeboat to go? He's on the inside of him, and down to turn 4 now. Either driver could have this. We're going to cut Snack really quickly. They are making contact, and Lifeboat sneaks ahead into turn 4. That is absolutely brilliant, and the mistake from Snack has cost him dearly.
Certainly has indeed. That was a very, very costly mistake indeed that sees Lifeboat up and back in control of this race. Snack was the driver who was closest to be able to challenge with the Haas driver, but unfortunately I don't think he will be able to at this point. Quantum very close to the back of Thomas as well, and he's going to try and give the Alpine a go. But he's not going to quite do so just yet. He, Samuel Barker and Thomas are just going to keep that scrapping going on. Lap 25 of 36. And Lifeboat at the moment just waits right up ahead. And I mean, he's waiting for Snack to try and make a move. And at the moment, he's just going to be conserving as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. May as well not burn himself out. Unlike Ray Wins, who seems to be absolutely pushing it for no apparent reason, as he just flicked very heavily into turn 3, which is not necessary. But now Radadal has hitted and unfortunately picked up a 10-second penalty, which is going to cause him to call it a day, unfortunately. That's his race done. He went for a ballsy strategy, which did not pay out, and look how it's turned out for him.
Well, now we know that that's not the strategy to go for, so I think all the drivers will be looking at that and going, well, thank you for trying. And, well, we will all know that into the season. It's one of those weird ones where you don't want to do a bad strategy, but you are gambling, you are testing at this point. And so if you do a bad strategy, it's not a bad idea. Snack right on the back of Lifeboat. He's close, as he has been ever since he lost that place, and he's going to try and fight his way up, but not able to do so just yet. He waits and he watches, and he's just going to seek his opportunity later on in the race session. 10 laps to go in this one, and I think it's going to be just a waiting game now for all of these drivers to see where they can take their advantages. And well, at the moment, Lifeboat and Snack are going to be just in a bit of limbo. Lifeboat will be conserving. Snack will be as well, but he knows at some point he's going to have to attack.
Yeah, exactly. I have no clue if Chris Rebel is in game, by the way, because on my end he is ghosted. I think he's disconnected from the race. So, fortunately, one of the gamblers on the medium tire has gone, so there's only one left now, is there? Which is the Ventara driver of WOR, who is currently P11 and trying to chase down the McLaren of Simbarox 1, who is on the second oldest medium tires left, which include Robin Brain and the Cadillac, which isn't too major, but at the same time, top of the world, Snack is trying to barrel down a little bit on Lifeboat, which he doesn't seem to be doing. But Samuel Barker is quite close to the back of Quantum, but I don't think it's going to come to anything in the end. And he's going to break very late, have a little bit of a lock-up, but in the end, stay behind, and Robin does peel into the pit lane to get off his hard tyres.
Yeah, Robin just boxing once again for what you would imagine is the final time in this race. And, well, he will be making the switch for the last 10-ish laps onto a set of the medium tyres, which makes absolute sense at this point. I mean, it's just a testing bed. If your race doesn't go well, then it's just a testing bed for you, I think. Even those drivers for whom the race does go well, it's still a test. It's just a successful test. And I know that there was a period of time where a couple of esports teams, one of the ones that I was in included, had the attitude of, there is never a bad strategy, there is just a decision to learn from. And that's a very Malone quote, but it certainly rings true for these drivers, especially with the stakes very, very low at the start of this season. We'll be seeing Ward's into the top 10. He's made his way through on Simbarox, and he's now got 4 seconds to gain up to Semi Battiar up ahead. I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to do it by the time the end of the race comes along, but he is just going to keep trying to go on that charge, as Mathis Rouillet is not going to have the greatest of days, I think it's fair to say. He has picked up multiple time penalties for his track limits, which is typically a problem around this circuit. He's now up to 9 seconds, levelling Thomas, and only behind Ray Wintz, who had a speeding penalty as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a great race for him, is it? The Frenchman I can't remember the team, unfortunately, but the Frenchman in the Mercedes at the moment. However, I don't think that's his biggest worry right now, considering it's so early on. like you said before, it's only a learning session, and Samuel Barker, I might have jinxed, considering I said he might have a chance, picks up a penalty at the final corner. So now, you could technically say the podium is all but confirmed now, as Austria just has to stay within 13 seconds of Ray wins, and he's got that podium pretty much in a lock.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he will want at this point, but you never quite know until the end of a race, especially in an esports race, especially in a world online racing race. Anything could happen between now and the end of it. Safety car, for example, would completely shake up this one and allow for the opportunity for the likes of Wards to have a real good shot in this race. But of course, we are not wishing for a safety car at this point. We are just saying if it is indeed to come, then it would certainly spice the action up. And, well, with about 6 laps to go from here on in, it's going to be the end of a race where they are all just going to manage themselves to it. We saw the start of this DLC where they all came out swinging. As the races have gone along, they've kind of settled into a rhythm.
Yeah, they have. They just know not to be stupid, otherwise they're just going to go all wrong. But I believe this battle mainly for 4th on track is going to heat up a bit. Thomas is going to go to the inside of Ozzolito in the Williams, and he seemed to have forced him a little wide, which could allow Quantum down to turn 4. I don't think he will. So now that's not going to be our major look. But Snack is Samuel Barker actually lost out to Volakongan, but the lead did change up the front. Snack did sneak past Lifeboat at some point, which I didn't notice. But the battle, which is a 5-car battle, is just heating up at the moment now, isn't it?
Very much is, and we are very much not at the end of it as well. We've got about 6 laps to go, as I say, and it's going to be very interesting indeed to come the end of this race, as to who is going to be able to come out on top. I'm not sure any of the podium spots are done, because of course this is the pseudo fight for that 3rd spot, with Ray Wintz with so many penalties added to his name. We've seen the drivers head through turn number 1, and we're seeing all of them still locked in battle. And locked in is going to be what they're going to have to do in the final part of this race. Volakongan has a look to Quantum, who has a look at Ottozito. They're going to go 3 wide here into turn number 3. Volakongan's going to get the exit off the corner, but Quantum's going to get a very poor one. And that means that he's almost going to drag Volakongan with him, meaning that it's almost going to be back to the status quo. Ottozito ahead, and Volakongan with the straight line mode to the inside.
Oh!
And Samuel Barker trying to get himself involved as well. It was 2 by 2. There was a big bit of contact, but Volakongan through in the end.
Yeah, into the break, and though Quantum hit the back of Ottozito very hard, so he must be very lucky if he's not got any damage. But Volakongan, who's actually not got a penalty, so he is now with the new net P3, and Samuel Barker has spun at turn 7, unfortunately. So that's his chance of any good score points gone, which could allow VNT's Ward to claw back into a potential P9 come the end of it. But now, a podium kind of has changed around, hasn't it? Because Volakongan is his new favourite for P3 now, isn't he?
Certainly so. This has been that was a dramatic moment that could define the way that this race is going to go, with not long left to it. I think they're just going to be trying to race flat out. I don't think there's any more management to do for any of these drivers, and it's going to be all down to them right at the very death of this race to see who is going to be able to come out on top. At the moment, Lifebout is under pressure from Snack as well, who's going to go side by side. This is the race for the lead, and it will be the V-Carb who holds on to it. Lifebout looks the quicker driver at the moment, but Snack with that on-track lead, that's going to be so very crucial, and he's going to try to cling on to it as they continue their way through this race. Not long to go. Lap number 33 is what they're about to head on to, and it's still very tight indeed between these top 2 drivers. Snack has that track lead, but I think Lifebout is going to try and go for it here.
Certainly. Indeed. Now with only a few left to go, Lifebout's got a very strong run on the exit of that turn 1, and he's going to be forced to his absolute limit, I feel like. Now down to turn 3. He's going to have a little sniff at the inside, and he's going to go for it, I believe. Yes, he does. He holds it, and he's just going to lose out, I feel like, on the exit. But they're still side by side. With into turn 4 now. with overtake, I believe Lap Battle's got. So he's just going to stay behind, but he's going to have a sniff into turn 4, and once again, he gets it done. But is the same going to happen as last time? No, it's not. A Snack is going to forfeit it properly this time, and now lead has changed hands yet again.
Yeah, lead has changed hands. It's back in the Haas's hands, and he has certainly looked like the best driver to be able to hold on to that position for now. Justin is out of the session, unfortunately, but he was already out of the race, so it doesn't matter all too much. We've had quite a few disconnections throughout the course of this race, which is what my mind defaulted to, but no, he's out of the race, and he will not be getting back into it. Lap 34 of 36 then, and we are seeing the final few battles come to a head. Lifebout against Snack is the closest one so far, and it's the most important one.
Yeah, exactly. Snack's got an absolute mammoth run down into turn 3, but he's just going to stay behind, trying to conserve the battery, and also get the overtake mode. He's going to have a little bit of a wobble, I believe, and Volakongan is through to P4 on track now, and Matisse has pulled into pit lane and decided to finally call it a day, after just painful race, really, picking up so many penalties. But is Volakongan going to be under pressure into turn 4? I don't think he is. Yes, he is. Thomas going to have a little sniff at the inside, but he's not going to come to anything. And now Volakongan just has to stream ahead, and then he got a podium confirmed once again. But Semi in the Alpine has crept ahead of Quantum, and we got a battle between Sam and Ward into turn 6, and Ward is going to get absolutely done over as Sam goes from outside to inside, and there's contacts at turn 7, unfortunately. As these two still remain side by side. They've both done really well to not cause any major contact. And now we've gone to the penultimate lap with Lifebout and Snack still deucing at the front.
They are still dinging and donging indeed, the two drivers at the very top of this field, as they have done all race long. The Haas driver has been in control, but it has been Snack who's really put him under pressure, and it would be a thoroughly deserved victory for both of them. Otzazito to the inside of Thomas, but just about backs out. Thomas had a bit of a kick of oversteer last lap, so the Alpine is certainly looking vulnerable and might be vulnerable as they head down to turn number 4. What can Otzazito do in terms of trying to get ahead? He's going to look to the outside, switch back to the inside, but no, just waits and just watches, does the Williams. He doesn't want to make the move. He doesn't feel as though he needs to make the move, and Wards and Samuel Barker in the background just having a bit of fun for P9 with Wards with the mediums, and I think at this point the two sets of tyres will be relatively even. With Wards just staying ahead and Barker getting very close to the back. Lifebout is going to lead into the final couple of corners. Snack did pull alongside, but now we head on to the final lap of this Grand Prix, and the V-Carb is going to be right in behind the Haas driver. Second place is exactly where you want to be heading into the last lap, and that will be a 3-second time penalty for Quantum, putting his podium chances absolutely down the drain. Otzazito having a look at Thomas, doesn't quite go for it just yet. There's two battles to keep an eye on, and Snack's going to have a look to the outside here of Lifebout. They're both going to lock up into turn number 4, and it will be Lifebout to stay ahead for the time being. What is Semi Battiar able to do on the back of Otzazito? Nothing is the answer to that question. Nothing just yet. I think Lifebout's just about eked out that gap enough to stay ahead unless Snack makes a huge lunge. Where is this move going to come in terms of the battle for P4? And there's big contact. Semi has got off, and on the back of Otzazito, he's going to cost his race right at the very end of it. And that's very, very unfortunate indeed. But Semi Battiar is going to try and run home in the points, but these two are going to run home at the very top of the field. Lifebout has managed to hold off Snack all race long. Is this going to be the Haas driver's day to take the victory? He is absolutely dominated throughout. He thoroughly deserves this one, and it is going to be the social race heading the way of the Haas. Lifebout wins here in Austria, and Snack comes home in second place. It's third for Volakongan, just behind his teammate on track, but getting ahead of him after the penalties. Otzazito and Quantum gaining positions as well, as is Semi. So Semi in the end, after that contact, still coming home for P5.
Yeah, and after that, Ward, considering where he qualified, I believe down in P21, has finished in the top 6 after all the penalties, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. And then, obviously, after Ward, you got Quantum, who finished P7, Thomas, Samuel Barker, and Simbrox 1, who just crept into the top 10, knocking Ray Wins out of it. And then the remaining finishers are obviously Ray, Babelby, and then a few more I didn't properly notice.
yeah, hopefully we'll get the chance to run you through the full order in just a couple of moments' time, as we will get the final grid confirmation for you, and then we will round off for the broadcast. So, are we going to be getting it here today? I said that we might not be getting it earlier on, and then it came up straight away, so I'm hoping to jinx it. I think we're not going to be able to get it on screen, unfortunately, which means I'm going to be able to run us through it. Oh, no, we are going to get it. We're going to be able to run you through it. So, race winner, life bout, fastest lap, Fanna Spinoda, Volakongan, driver of the day, most overtakes, Bell Belby, and cleanest driver, Volakongan as well. And it was life bout to take the victory. Snack in second place, and Volakongan from 14th to 3rd. Otzito in 4th place with Semi 18th to 5th in 5th place, and Wards 21st to 6th in 6th. Quantum, Thomas, Samuel Barker and Simba Rocks 1 round out the top 10. And then Ray Wentz, Bell Belby, Finley, Robin, and Chris RBL, Sergioli, Matthias Huile, and Fanna Spinoda round out the registered finishers with Ryderdal. Oh no, Fanna Spinoda is registered as a DNF with Ryderdal, Justin, David, and Melwin joining him.
Yeah, that was a very eventful race considering the social race, but it's going to happen, isn't it? It's the start of the game. People are just going to be trying to do with what they've got, and if they can do what they've got, then they'll do what they can, obviously. It was very drama-filled, really, from lap 1 to lap 36. There was a lot of huge moments, really, all race, which obviously ended up being what they were. So, well done to Lifebout, well done to Snark, well done to Volokong, and them three did it very well, but Otzito, considering where he was, might be a little bit annoyed, considering he definitely could have had a podium there.
It certainly could, and we're going to head back to cameras for what will be potentially the final time together, Ollie, for this stream. Or sorry, Warder, for this stream. But who would your driver be of the day?
Probably Ward, considering he had poor qualifying, but managed to somehow creak into the top 6. Yes, it could be off penalties, but at the same time, he did what he could and got it perfectly. But at the same time, I could also give it to Semi. Obviously, started a bit higher up, but he also spanned twice and got a top 5. So it could be between either of them two, but I can't really choose an outright one.
Yeah, certainly not indeed. I mean, it is a difficult one. I think Semi is one of those drivers who's in contention for it. I think you're absolutely right about Wards as well. There's a number of drivers who deserve that naming. But that will be it for today's broadcast. Thank you very much for everybody tuning in for our Pride Month representatives here in the commentary box. And until next time, it is goodbye